Hey Pisces, this is going to be your 2025 horoscope for the year. Let's go through all of the major transits this year and talk a little bit about how this is going to affect your sign. Definitely listen to your rising sign as well as your sun sign and take a peek at your moon sign as well. That might have some relevance also. Of course, nothing beats taking a look at your genuine natal chart and seeing how all of these transits affect all of your placements. If you want to do a reading like that with me, you can certainly do so. Check out calmspirit.com, KALM, just like my last name, spirit.com, and I will happily help you with that. So let's jump in. So we start the year off with a Mars retrograde. So Mars is going to be retrograde in Leo at the very beginning of the year, but it very quickly backs off into Cancer where it spends most of its time. This retrograde is pretty significant. It's going to be felt all year, but especially that first half of the year. Okay. So for you, this starts out in your sixth house. So for a lot of you guys, you actually may have some minor health issues kind of coming up here right at the beginning of the year that probably already was starting at the end of last year, the end of 2024. For some of you guys, this could be mental health related as well because you do have Pluto in your 12th house here opposing this Mars. So definitely take a look at the psychological components of whatever could be going on for you. I will say that when I've seen Mars make transits like this, sometimes there are things in the body that are causing problems. So I've seen people have to get things literally cut out of them during that time. So like a surgery of some kind, but it could also be something that you're ingesting or eating here as well that is playing a big role, or a chronic illness of some kind. But usually there is a mental component here, if not as the cause, then the result of, right? So really pay attention to your mental health. I'm gonna circle back to mental health here at the end when I talk about Pluto, because I see that being a kind of big theme for you generally as well. But that said, most of that Mars retrograde is actually going to be hanging out in your fifth house, which is going to be the house of children and romance and businesses. Okay. So having a Mars retrograde here, some of you guys might hook back up with a new love with an old lover during this time. Maybe you have a rendezvous here that could end up in a pregnancy. So be careful if you're not into that, Pisces. Be careful because you could definitely have a baby here. But I actually think you're probably one of the top candidates, if I'm being honest. So definitely be aware. However, this could also be reviving an old business idea and wanting to get back into that. I do feel like if you are reviving an old business idea, there could be some tension around that for some reason. So maybe there's some like pent up anger or arguments with an old business partner, or just some sort of conflict that you kind of have to overcome and address like as a part of this is generally what I see with that. Okay. But that said, that doesn't mean it's not a good time for you to try to dig that up and take a look at it. I would use this energy to really explore it and then wait for the second part of the year when Jupiter enters this house to really launch a business. Okay. That would be my advice there. This is also the house of children. So some of you guys might be having some arguments and tension around children as well. Okay. In the beginning of the year. That whole first half of the year, really. I want to encourage you though and tell you that, Jupiter is going to be entering this house at the last half of the year. So if you have tension with your kids during this time, it's likely going to improve greatly here by the end of the year. But of course, book an individual reading with me to understand more about where that might be coming from and unpack how you can get past that energy more quickly, because obviously all of these are energetic readings. I'm telling you what the weather is, but you can still bring an umbrella when it rains. You know what I'm saying? So we want to utilize these energies to the best of our abilities. Now, we also have a Venus retrograde this year. Venus is going to retrograde in your second to first house. This Venus retrograde is significant, unusually significant to most Venus retrogrades. So we are going to feel this retrograde through most of the year. So what I'm going to talk about does apply to most of your year this year as well. So it does start in your second house here, which is related to finances. So a lot of you guys are kind of exploring new financial ventures here at the beginning of the year. You may have already been thinking about this as a North Node has been going through your second house. So a lot of you guys have already been kind of looking at kind of money making opportunities, or have been getting money somehow unexpectedly or something along those lines. So with the Venus retrograde here, you may be dealing with that subject yet again. So maybe you're kind of closing that out, or finalizing that unexpected money, or some unexpected money could come in. So maybe somebody pays you back money that they had loaned you, or maybe you get a sudden inheritance here. I can kind of see something along those lines happening to you here. But it does spend a lot of time here in your first house. But I will say that I do see a lot of financial vibes going on with this. So I would say that this first part of the year, especially there around March and April, is a really good time for you to improve kind of your financial habits, to start and also to start downsizing a little bit, because the second house is also about just our stuff, like what we have. Um, so there might be some things that you can sell off that you don't need anymore, or just don't align with you anymore. I would honestly recommend you start doing that even around March, April, just because maybe do like a spring clean, and a garage sale or something, because uh when Saturn and Neptune enters this house, you're gonna be kind of pushed to downsize a lot more anyway. Um, but we'll talk about that when we get to that transit. So like I said, most of the time it is going to be in your first house here in Pisces. So, especially there around like April, May, this will be a good time for you to kind of think more about beautifying yourself. So I think a lot of you guys are going to do some sort of like major beauty treatment maybe during that time. Um, I would say that a lot of you guys really would benefit from kind of tapping into this time period and utilizing it to recognize what your own needs are. Because I do feel like a lot of you guys neglect your needs usually, like as a general rule. And this is not something you want to do going forward because of that Pluto in your 12th. Your mental health really needs to be your top priority. Okay. So Venus here could help you really like get back in contact with that and thinking about, what you need, what makes you happy, and just really feeding yourself here, okay? Um, I will say that with that Neptune and Saturn still in your first house here for that very first part of the year, you're feeling a little moody and cranky here at the beginning of the year, actually. So I'm hoping that this Venus retrograde through your house, especially after it goes direct, will help you to kind of enjoy yourself and feel a little bit better about yourself. I think a lot of you guys have actually been feeling insecure about yourself as well with Saturn having gone through your house here this year. Um, all of the Mercury retrogrades this year are primarily in fire signs. We have three of them this year. We have three of them every year. It's very rare to have four, but that happens sometimes too, but it's usually three. And so so fire signs in your chart rule the second, sixth, and 10th houses, which are all money making, business related houses. So again, a lot of you guys are restructuring financially somehow here, or thinking back on finances. You also might be restructuring something at work. Some of you guys might change jobs or revisit some old training that you had, or talk to an old coworker or an old boss or something like that. Like I could see all of those things with that as well. So Neptune and Saturn are going to be entering Aries together this year. Neptune will enter first at the end of March. Saturn will join her at the end of May. They will join up in what's called a conjunction in the middle of June. What else is interesting is that they're actually going to retrograde it back out of this sign and leave into Pisces and then re-enter together again in 2026. So what I'm about to describe to you, you're going to do a repeat of in 2026. So Neptune and Saturn went through your first house for some time here. That's probably been a pretty rough year for you, Pisces. Um, I think a lot of you guys have really been kind of just going through it and facing some really tough karmic situations and people and stuff like that. Maybe you've been feeling unsure about yourself, or like hard on yourself. I think a lot of you guys are kind of going through it mentally here, actually. You're going to start to feel this shift around the middle of the year, though, to your second house. And that's going to be interesting for you because you just had North Node go through that house. So you've already been spending some of 2024 thinking about like, what is really important to me? What do I value? How can I make money in a way that aligns better with me? And hopefully you made moves on that, because Saturn is going to test that now once they go into the second house. Okay. So now you're going to start to really want to, again, reevaluate the way in which you are making money. If you are still out working, this might feel like your work is starting to feel kind of unfulfilling to you in some way, and you might want to change. Some of you guys might be facing some other type of financial restrictions. Some of you might feel like all of the stuff you have is just burdensome to you now. So that's why I say start the process of going through your stuff in the beginning around in like the spring. Because from the middle to the end of the year, I see you having to do so anyway, and you seem a lot more frustrated about it then. So better for you to kind of do a good spring cleaning so you can get ahead of that. I would say. But I do just I feel for you like a general longing here when it comes to your financial situation, and just kind of thinking like, how could I really work more for myself, or how could I get out of, like, some of you guys might be facing maybe some toxic situations, some toxic work situations here in which um you are having people be too critical of you or restrictive of what you're doing, and you want to break away that way. Um, I could see that happening for you as well. So at the end of the day, try to think of things that really align with the impact you're ultimately trying to make in the world, because that's what Neptune can really be about. A lot of you guys will think of a lot of money making ideas, but Saturn's going to challenge you to really bring them to fruition in like practical ways. So focus on one or two of those ideas and do the annoying hard work that has to be done to bring them to fruition. These two together can really manifest dreams. So if you have some dream way that you're hoping to make money, or some dream amount of money you want to get, or something like that, you could manifest that, but only if you really are allow yourself to both lean into the dream as well as bring that into the 3D somehow. So maybe like write out a dream board or something, you know what I mean? Or um, make a playlist around the vibe of what you're trying to create. Like maybe you're like, I want to live on the beach for the rest of my life. Go make a playlist of beach songs and listen to them and imagine yourself there and all that kind of stuff. Like these are all things that um might be able to help you. But then of course also make the genuine practical moves of like, okay, if I want to go live on the beach, then I need to make room for that to even happen, which means I should get rid of a bunch of this stuff that I don't even care about anymore. That feels like a burden to me to even have. So this is really kind of going to bring into question to you, what do you value? What's really important to you? And is it worth keeping? So these are all things that you want to think about. I think a lot of you guys feel kind of lonely this year. And I think you felt that last year too, actually. I feel like longing from you to sort of connect, and yet you seem like you want to isolate as well. So don't let yourself isolate too much. You need to get yourself really more like out there. Again, really mental health wise, it would be best to go for walks and be with friends and things like that. I think some of you might want to self-medicate here as well. So maybe some of you guys will just want to like get high all day and like sit in front of the TV or something. This is and like, hey, there's nothing wrong with doing that once in a while, but just be aware that those are things that are going to impact your mental health in a negative way. So really try to avoid that and create a support system for yourself, even if it's just one or two friends that you meet up with occasionally. That's a lot better than you being completely isolated. Jupiter is also going to be in your fourth house here at the beginning of the year, and will be switching signs as well. We've got a lot of stuff switching signs this year. So Jupiter does start out in Gemini, which is where Jupiter was actually in 2024 as well, and will switch to Cancer in the middle of the year in June. So, in reference to your fourth house, a lot of Pisces are going to get some great opportunities when it comes to their home lives. Okay, so a lot of you guys are probably going to be moving, actually, to be honest, um, here as well. If you're planning a move, I would say try to do it maybe the first part of the year before Uranus gets into this house, because Uranus is going to make it like a really crazy, unexpected experience. Whereas if it's a Jupiterian experience, then it's like you're going to something better. So I would say if you have to move this year, try to do it the first part of the year when it's Jupiter supporting you instead. But a lot of you guys might be just expanding your home in some way. Some of you guys could be having a baby this year, actually, as well, since Jupiter's going to go to the fifth, or could be getting pregnant. So if that's something you're trying to do, you could probably do that this year if that's on the table for you. But others of you are just making your home a better place. So maybe you're renovating it in some way, or moving somewhere nicer, or maybe you're getting a pet, right? Maybe that's a family member for you. You get where I'm going with this. I just see a general, some of you might be selling a home as well. If you have a home to sell, do it the first half of the year. Definitely don't do it after Uranus enters this house. Do it the first half of the year. After June, Jupiter will then enter your fifth house, which is the house of romance and dating, as well as children, and also businesses. So you could launch a business idea at the end of the year. Definitely. I could see that going well for a lot of you guys. As I said, you might be having a baby here as well. If you had more difficult relationships with a kid that you already have, with Mars going through there in the beginning of the year, this should smooth over a lot by the end of the year. I see you guys really improving your relationship with your children here on that last half of the year. So that does seem to be a major benefit for you, at least. Also, romance massively improves for you here. I love when Jupiter goes through the fifth house. It's a lot of fun. So you should get a lot more opportunities to go on dates and have fun. So if you're single, you'll probably get asked out to go on some fun dates. If you're already with somebody, then you might get some opportunities to, reconnect with them and deepen that relationship, which is something you probably are really needing to do. I feel like a lot of you guys have just been going through it in regards to relationships. And you will continue to through this year with South Node actually going through the seventh house here, unfortunately. So I do think there's been a heaviness and a seriousness to a lot of your relationships, but with Jupiter in the fifth there, that last half of the year, I do see you getting some good opportunities to have fun with it at least. Okay. Uranus is also going to switch sides. So Uranus starts the year out in Taurus, which is where he's actually been for a while. He's been there for since 2018. But Uranus will briefly visit Gemini between July and November, which will give us a sneak peek of what that transit will be like when he fully enters Gemini for his next 7 years in 2026. So he starts the year out, however, in your no, in your third house. So you've had Uranus going through your third house since 2018. So a lot of you guys have already been going through a lot of opportunities to travel, especially like short trips. Maybe some of you guys have taken courses. Um, some of you guys have even moved, but this feels more like travel to me than move. Even if you moved, you might not feel like where you're at is totally home, actually, here to be honest. Um, but I do see a lot of opportunities to just generally like socialize. You might have had a lot of unexpected experiences with trips as well. So this could be for better or worse. Okay. Also, a lot of unexpected situations around siblings here for sure as well. Or if not siblings, maybe like cousins, neighbors, colleagues, people that are like your age group like that. Could be very unexpected situations as well. So that's why I say this year, especially the first half of the year, be cautious when it comes to rushing through things. When we have Uranus through the third, we can feel like we want to rush through a bunch of stuff, but it can lead to minor accidents actually when you do that with that transit. So just be aware of that. And take things a little more slowly. However, like I said, you are already familiar with this transit. You've been going through it since 2018. But you will notice a shift around July to November when it visits Gemini, which is your fourth house. Okay. So, again, a lot of y'all are moving this year for sure. This could create a really unstable living situation for a lot of y'all. Okay. So, that's why I say if you have things you're trying to do in regards to your home, do that early in the year. So if you're like, I have some renovate, for example, let's say you're like, I have a renovation that's really important, but I'm putting it off. Don't put it off till the end of the year. Because what's going to happen is Jupiter is going to enter this house and cause an unexpected issue with it. So if you have something going on like that, take care of it at the beginning of the year. Uranus in the fourth house is going to make your living situation just generally unstable and unexpected events will happen. Astrology is always telling the weather. Use this energy to your advantage the best that you can. If you choose to embrace this energy voluntarily and say, I was planning to move anyway, let's do that. Or I was planning to do this renovation, let's go for it. Or maybe you just want to do some major unexpected change to your home, like put in a pool or something cool. Do it because that is a good way to spend this energy out. Uranus just wants to see a change occur. And so he's going to make that happen. And if you do it voluntarily, you can choose what that might be. But otherwise, some other ways I can see this play out would be maybe like unexpected damage to a home or just unexpected shifts in your general domestic life. Some of you guys could go through a divorce, for example, here this year, unfortunately. Or for some of you, this could be you have kids that grow up and leave the home as well here. Or maybe you were living around family for a while and now you're moving away from family. And so that's a big change too, right? So these are all ways that I could see this play out for you. But again, I would say try to embrace that voluntarily by preparing for it at the beginning of the year. You also have Pluto in your 12th house. Okay. Pluto already entered Aquarius there and in 2024. He actually briefly visited Aquarius in 2023 as well, but he's there now for good. And it is significant this year because he's at one of the early degrees of Aquarius, which is where the Grand Conjunction happened. The Grand Conjunction started a 20-year long process, which will unfold a major purpose for you wherever it landed. So for you, that was the 12th house. So listen, Pluto in the 12th house is going to bring up a lot of mental health issues for you and subconscious issues. A lot of you guys want to be alone and you feel really triggered by other people throughout this year, especially the first half of it. and you seem to feel really stressed out. There's likely some psychological stuff going on here. So, Pisces, you are the number one sign that I would say it is time to do some deep inner healing work. Okay. Visit with maybe like a therapist or a regressionist, maybe do like a past life regression. This could be a past life issue as well. This well does relate to past lives. So, you can explore a lot of this through altered states like meditations, regressions, dreams. Obviously, drugs is an altered state, but I would avoid that because I do already feel like you guys are feeling called to kind of self-medicate or escape a little bit. And this could turn into more of an addiction issue for you if you go that direction. So I would say kind of focus more on some of those more healthy ones, especially because Pluto in the 12th can make you more susceptible to like spiritual attacks. So these are all things that you just want to be aware of and like protect yourself against. But I do see you doing like a lot of soul searching with this one throughout the year. Again, especially in that first half of the year, in like January and April, in particular, this seems to present as more of like a minor health issue for you, and you think of it as such. But honestly, I think there's a psychological component to that. So really try to dig deeper on it if you're able to. Okay. One of the last things the last one we're gonna talk about is the North Node shift. So North Node is shifting into your sign this year on January 29th, which is where it will be all year. This is going to bring really big shifts into your life. Okay. You are on a path to really understand yourself better and embrace who you truly are and become absolutely true to yourself. You are likely going to have to purge some things in order to get there. Some of that is going to be literal stuff and junk, and some of that is going to be people, unfortunately. South Node going through your seventh house is going to really dispel certain people out of your life, even. Okay. So some of you guys, like I said, could go through a divorce this year. Some of you guys could be releasing some toxic relationships. This might not be a relationship that is being released. This could also be a business partnership or some other agreement or just something that you aligned with in the past that you used to really identify with that maybe you've been doing for a really long time, that is no longer really aligned to who you are. And now it's time for you to do some soul searching to get in touch with who you really are behind all of that stuff, behind all of the masks, behind the titles, behind the people that you've been involved with, or who you've been married to or done business with. Who are you without all of that? And that's what I think you're being really asked to look at very seriously this year so that you can shift your priorities into really focusing on yourself and making choices that are aligned to you. And doing so is going to bring the right people into your life as well. Some of you guys are going to meet a soulmate this year, actually, with South Node going through your seventh. This could mean that some of you meet somebody that you know from a past life as well. So just be aware that there are a lot of options and opportunities out there, and keep an open mind and understand that the universe always has a plan for you and always has something new that they want to bring to your table. And this year, they are definitely going to do just that. So I hope that this reading helped. If you enjoyed it, definitely drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Hopefully, this is aligned with what you were hoping for this year. But I can understand that maybe not all of it does. um, but of course, nothing beats getting a personal reading with me. Check out the website calmspirit.com, KALM, like my last name, spirit.com to book a reading or a class. Otherwise, I wish you guys the best year of all time. And I love you guys and you sweet little Pisces. I will check in with you later. Good luck.